Hello chess friends, today we are going to look at a game that represents a true positional masterpiece by the world champion at the time Anatoly Karpov. The game was played in 1981 between Karpov and the strong grandmaster Yuri Balashov. Karpov with the white pieces began the game with knight f3, and after knight f6 he played c4, the English opening. We'll go through the opening moves a bit faster. g6, g3, bishop g7 and bishop g2, short castle, knight c3, d6, d4 and knight b to d7. The game is transposing into the King's Indian defense. White played short castle, black e5, and after e4 we have a well-known position from the King's Indian defense. Black played c6 here and Karpov responded with h3, a prophylactic move that takes away the g4 square from black's pieces. Then followed queen b6, rook e1, e takes d4, knight takes d4 and rook e8, aiming to challenge the semi-open file. Karpov played a novelty here at the time, knight to a4. While it's often said that knight on a rim is dim, in this case the move is entirely justified. Karpov evaluates that the black queen is well positioned on b6, it pressures the b2 pawn, hinders the development of white's bishop, it is also dangerous on a7 g1 diagonal, and it also attacks the important central square d4. Therefore, the idea to remove the queen from b6 is entirely reasonable. Here, instead of knight a4, the main move in this position, played hundreds of times, is rook e2. The idea behind this move is that now the pawn on b2 is defended, which allows the development of the white bishop, and for example, after a move like queen b4, attacking on c4, rook c2 is a very good move, indirectly defending on c4, since now black queen cannot capture on c4 because of knight c to b5, attacking the queen and threatening knight c7 fork. So Karpov chose knight a4 and Balashov played queen to a5. Karpov continued developing his pieces with bishop f4, knight e5 was played, attacking on c4, b3 and knight f to d7. How should white continue now? Where to develop the remaining pieces? Karpov now shows his genius and plays a very strange move, bishop d2. It seemed that the bishop was well placed on f4, but Karpov had another role for it. Black's queen is attacked, he played queen d8, and now Karpov played bishop c3. Now we see the idea of bishop d2. Karpov wants his bishop on a1, h8 diagonal to oppose black's strong bishop on g7. Karpov definitely knew how to find the right squares for his pieces. Balashov here played the excellent move knight c5, hoping that Karpov would take on c5, after which, following d takes c5 and knight e2, black would have two good options here, to play f5, and after e takes f5 and bishop takes f5, the black pawns on c6 and c5 would dominate the center, and black would have successfully completed the development. Also, instead of f5, black could play bishop h3 here, and after bishop takes h3, knight f3 check, and after king f1, knight e1, queen takes e1, rook takes e4, black would dominate along the e file and could already be said to stand slightly better here. Therefore Karpov moved his knight back to b2. This knight looks as if it is badly placed, but in the continuation of the game we will see its role. Black now played a5 and Karpov responded with a3. Now a4 would be bad for black because white would respond with b4. Gaining space, the knight on b2 defends c4, and after knight e6 and f4 it also attacks the pawn on a4, which would fall in the next move. After a3, Balashov played knight e6, white took on e6, and after bishop e6 Karpov played queen c2. As always, Karpov in his style achieved a slight positional edge. White has more space and comfortably placed pieces. Black can never play a4 as the knight defends that square. Black tried f5 to neutralize white's spatial advantage. Karpov responded with f4, knight f7, and now important move king h2. Another prophylactic move by the world champion. The idea was that after an exchange on e4, white could recapture with the bishop without leaving the h3 pawn undefended. At the same time, the king steps off the dangerous a7 g1 diagonal. Balashov here captured on e4, and after bishop takes e4 he played bishop d7. Now Karpov brought the bishop back to g2, although engines suggest the powerful move bishop g6. After taking on g6 and queen takes g6, the only move to defend against mate on g7 would be to play knight e5, and after f takes e5, for example d takes e5 would lose immediately to rook e5. The bishop cannot capture on e5 because king is pinned, and after rook takes, bishop takes, white would be 2 pawns up and black would be completely lost here. Now we see the strength of the bishop on c3. Instead of taking with the d pawn after knight e5, here the only move for black would be rook e6, and after queen e4, d takes e5, rook a to d1, white is also better with a clean extra pawn. Also worth mentioning, after bishop g6, if black responded with bishop c3, white would have the intermediate move bishop f7 check, and after king f7, queen c3, again emerging a clear pawn up. But in keeping with Karpov's style, always preferring positional continuation over sacrifices, he played bishop g2. Black captured on c3, Karpov recaptured, then queen b6 was played, and now Karpov played knight to d3 with the idea of playing c5. Black defended against this with bishop f5. Now c5 would be bad because of queen b5, attacking the knight on d3 with 2 pieces, and after knight moves from d3, the pawn on c5 would fall. After bishop f5, Karpov played rook d1. Here Balashov decided to capture on d3, and after rook d3 he played queen f2. Karpov now found the excellent rook d to e3, and after the trade on e3, white controls the e file, ensuring long-term pressure. Black played king f8 with the idea of playing rook e8 to exchange rooks, which would likely lead to an equal position, but Karpov prevented that with an excellent move. Please pause the video and see if you can find what Karpov played at this moment. For those who found Queen d4, well done. This move is very characteristic of Karpov's style. Now Rook e8 would be a blunder, because after Rook e8 check, the queen on f2 falls. Also white is centralizing the queen and simultaneously attacking multiple weaknesses in black's position. Black played queen c2, but white immediately invaded the weak b6 square with his queen. Rook e8 was played, but it was too late. After Rook e8, King e8, Karpov captured on b7, gaining a clean extra pawn. Black tried c5, and now Karpov transitions into the endgame. Queen e4 check. Black must take on e4, and after bishop e4, now it's all a matter of a technique. The game continued knight h6, g4, knight g8, g5 taking away f6 and h6 squares from the knight, knight e7, h4, king f7 and h5 by Karpov. Now king g7 was played. If black captured on h5, then king g3 would follow, and for example after knight g6 preventing king h4, white would play f5, and after knight e5, king h4, the black pawn would fall and black would simply be hopeless here. So after h5, king g7 was played, but after king g3, here black resigned. In the next two moves white will play king g4 and f5, and black would be forced into a lost pawn endgame. This game is a perfect illustration of Karpov's style, always relying on positional continuations rather than tactical sacrifices. He achieved victory without spectacular moves or sacrifices, which was characteristic of his calm playing style. I hope you enjoyed the game. Please leave a like and a comment on the video. And until next time, warm regards.